Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the brand new Western Lights Era 2 Premium Medium tank, the Vickers MBT-3. Now if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the Vickers MBT Mk.3. What's it like? Well, it's basically a Premium Centurion 9, which means that this tank isn't really that great. It's got very good gun handling, and it's got really nice DPM. But generally, the hull armour is very, very bad. Lots of autocannons will go straight through this hull armour, no problem whatsoever. You have no real chance of sponging ATGMs unless they hit your gun. And if an ATGM enters you on this side of the tank in this sort of area here, it's generally going to pop your lid, which is not very helpful at all for the poor well, I was about to call it a Centurion 9, the poor Vickers Mk.3 MBT. Yeah, it's basically a Centurion 9. And if you know what I think of a Centurion 9, you know what I think of this tank. It's not really the most inspiring tank in the universe. It's not got too much that's special about it. And it's definitely a second-line support tank, if ever I've seen one. It does look pretty damn cool, though, because it is that alt Centurion design, and it is always pretty damn nice to look at. But generally, it's going to be looking very nice to look at as you blow it up, because that's what is generally going to happen to you in this tank. But it's also worth 11,400 gold, I believe. Yeah, 11,400 gold, as you can see here, which is quite a slab of money. You can pick up other tanks quite easily that will make you just as much silver as this thing does, because it does make good silver, and will have something special about them. Stuff like the 4-Ad, you know, we've got a really good gun, you've got good mobility, you've got a autocannon as well to go alongside of it. So if it's something like the WZ-122 where you've got a nice gun, but yet again you've also got ATGMs to go alongside it, or even something to compete with it that's very, very similar, like the Leopard 1A1, where you've got better camo, you've got better mobility, you've got just as good a gun handling, and your DPM is only ever so slightly worse, but you also have way better penetration, right? And I just feel like there's a lot of tanks out there that compete with the Vickers Mk.3 that are just better, and it is what it is for the poor tank. So without further ado, let's get into the statistics of the Vickers. As you can see, it's got a 720 horsepower engine with a 61.2 km/h top speed and a 25 km/h reverse speed with an 18.6 horsepower per ton ratio, which means you do hit 61.2 km/h, which can be nice. And that means if you put the traction system on, you will go at 67 km/h, you will hit it. But the top speed in general without any help does feel pretty slow on the tank, and it feels just that little bit more sluggish. The 25 km/h reverse speed, though, is fantastic. It does help you get back round a corner pretty damn easily. You've got a 15% internal fire chance, which is middle of the road for fire chances, because a lot of the time, you know, 10% is the lowest generally, 20% is the highest, so you are very much in the middle of the road. But if people do shoot you in the back end, they will tend to set you on fire. You've got 2.5k hit points as well, which is a nice slab of hit points to be able to trade with. Use the really good DPM that this tank has to keep slapping in the damage while also, you know, not receiving anything. And then you've got a 50 degree a second hull rotation speed, which is very, very good as well. It is way faster than the turret, so you've got to bear that in mind. 1.5 on soft, 0.7 on medium, and 0.6 on firm in terms of the terrain resistances, meaning that this tank doesn't get held back by its terrain resistances to hit that top speed. You've got 375 meters of still concealment, which is not actually that bad for a tank that's this big, but it's Cold War, so you're not really that bothered. You got 520 meters of view range, though, which is pretty decent for a Era 2 medium tank. You got 40 degrees a second turret rotation speed, which is, again, slower than the 50 degrees a second hull rotation, so bear that in mind, that you really want to try and help this turret rotation speed up if you can to get it somewhere near the tracks, because if you turn one way, the opposite way to where you're trying to turn your turret, the turret will never get there. You have 0.72 accuracy during rotation, which is very, very good, and you can get that down to about 0.48 or something like that, which is fantastic. You've got 20 degrees of elevation, which is great. You've got 10 degrees of gun depression, which is always fantastic. Really, really helps you on a ridgeline with this tank, and that's really where this tank wants to be. Not that it's really going to bounce anything off the turret, but it just limits the amount of tank that people have to shoot if you're on that ridgeline, and you can abuse those ridgelines really, really well with the 10 degrees of gun depression. You got 7.3 second reload, which is very good, with a 3.7k base DPM. You can get that up to about 5.1k DPM, even more if you were to run vents, which is definitely an asset for the tank. You got 0.3 accuracy at 100 meters, which is also very, very good, with 2.02 accuracy during movement, which paired up with that accuracy during rotation, when you get it down to about 1.15, I think it is, accuracy during movement, is very, very good. It means the gun doesn't bloom out all that much with the help of the gun stabilizer and the crew skills. You got 1.9 second aim time as well, which means it doesn't take much to get this gun aimed in, which means that, like I say, this gun is the thing that is very, very good about this tank, mixed in with a very good DPM. That is the strength of the vehicle. Everything else about it is a little bit it's just lackluster, really. You've got 398 pen on your standard APFS DS round, 443 pen on your premium APFS DS round, and 210 pen on your HESH round. The HESH round is definitely another asset for the tank. It's the reason that I run the ammo swapper, because that HESH round can turn the tide of a fight very, very quickly, especially if you're against stuff like 30Bs, Brennises, 30B2s, the 4AD, Leopards. You know, there's many, many tanks you can pen with 210 pen HESH. 210 pesh, yes. But yeah, 210 pen HESH, there's a lot of tanks you can pen with that, and when you're hitting them for 570 instead of 460, and you're doing increased module damage, because that's basically what HE does, there's a lot of times you will damage people's ammo racks, set them on fire with that sort of thing, and you're hitting them for, like, you know, 570, 600 odd with it, which is always really, really nice, and it can turn the tide of an engagement very, very quickly, especially since you already have pretty damn good DPM. You have 460 alpha on the standard APFS DS and the premium APFS DS, though, which is pretty standard for an L7, or, well, just for a 105mm gun, right? Although there's a fair few tanks that are going either 460, 480, or 510. It's the general standard. It's similar to the Centurion 9 in that regard. And you've got 1490 meters a second shell velocity on your APFS DS on both rounds, 735 meters a second shell velocity on the HESH rounds, which means these HESH rounds are very, very slow. You've got to bear in mind that they are much slower than your standard and premium rounds, so if you're firing at a distance, it will loop a little bit. You have to give far, far more lead than you do with the two standard and premium rounds. And then this tank has 155% silver bonus as well, which is very, very nice for an Era 2 medium tank. Means you will make quite a lot of dosh on this tank, which is pretty good. So let's have a quick look at the armour, and as you can see, it's 80mm on the lower plate, 60mm on the upper plate, and that's as good as it gets on this tank. And then you go to the side where you've got 30mm of armour with 20mm of track armour, which has a lot of space above it and in the middle of it, which can easily be bypassed by the autocannons. Trust me, the autocannons shred this poor tank. Armada 1A1 does not care about where it is shooting your tank anywhere. As long as it's not hitting the random angles on the front of this tank here and here, it's just generally the Armada 1A1 will, and the Bagel Panzer as well, which you're seeing a lot of at the minute, will just shred this poor tank. They will not fail to pen you anywhere, which is very, very sad. If they YOLO you, it's pretty much game over for you. There's not much. You'll probably do 1,000 damage to them and they've taken all your hit points, and not even that. You probably won't even do 1,000 damage, right? Because you'll lose your ammo rack, you'll get set on fire, all sorts. This thing just gets absolutely shredded. You have absolutely no hope. You can't side scrape because you've got 30mm of armor, and most tanks have a higher than 90mm caliber gun as well, which means that, yeah, you won't really bounce anything that way either. The armor on this tank is absolute garbage, so yeah, there is that. And then in terms of the module viewer, here's the ammo racks, and this is what I'm talking about with the ammo racks. As you can see, if they shoot you on this right-hand side through the drive wheel and track you, they're always going to damage your ammo rack. If they shoot you in the middle of the tank as well, through here and here, underneath where the turret is, a lot of the time they will damage your ammo rack, which is pain. And as you can see with the engine, that's where the engine is on the vehicle. So if they shoot you in this back end, a lot of the time they will damage your engine. And if an autocannon is going at you, rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat, through the back end here, through this section here, or just generally through there, they are going to set you on fire, because the amount of rounds going into it will just trigger the fire chance and will just set you on fire. It is a sad, sad time for the Vickers in that regard. So let's go have a look at the crew that I run in this tank. Well, let's go stick it into the Vickers Mk.3. So in terms of a crew, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Clutch Braking, Rapid Aim, Track Mechanic. Track Mechanic because I want to get my tracks back on as quickly as possible, especially when I'm getting shot at, because the tracks do get blown off quite a lot in this vehicle, so I do just want to get them back on a little bit quicker. There's a lot of tanks that have really good DPM, and thus they will perma-track you if you do not run Track Mechanic, which can be very, very awkward. Rapid Aim because the turret traverse is so much slower than the track traverse, so I do want to get it a little bit higher. Clutch Braking is one of those that I just want to make the tank feel a little bit more nimble on its tracks, but it's a little bit superfluous, especially if you're trying to make the turret traverse get up to that track traverse. It just means that the track traverse is still way quicker than the turrets. That's a perk that you could definitely switch out if you wanted to run something like the Deadeye skill to make, well, increase your chance of damaging modules by 6%, which means you get, increased chance of doing ammo racks or fires and stuff like that. You could run the supply conservation to get your food and consumables back way quicker, which is a very, very valuable perk, that one. You can take that in a lot of situations. It's definitely a very overlooked skill. And you've got armor angling that you could take as well to just reduce the amount of damage coming in. Pair that up with advanced armor and you're reducing the damage coming into your tank by 10%, which can be quite nice because generally this tank is a sponge and will always take damage. Or you could just make your view range better and run situational awareness, which is always an option as well. The 3 gun perks because you want to make sure that this gun is as good as humanly possible. And then these 3 perks because you're going to take those on every single tank in the game, pretty much. And then in terms of equipment on this tank, I do run food because food is very, very good for the tank. It makes everything about it better. The advanced loader to make the DPM 10% better because, again, you're maximising one of the strengths of the tank. The gun stabiliser, yet again, to maximise one of the strengths of the tank, which is the gun, and make it really, really nice. And the ammo swapper to make it so that I can switch to those juicy, juicy HESH rounds and turn the tide of an engagement sometimes. You're not always using the HESH rounds, but they are very, very useful to be able to switch to. But if you feel like you're not going to use the HESH rounds, or the ammo swapper generally confuses you, if you've got like 3 sets of ammo choices, you could definitely drop the ammo swapper to run the traction system to go quicker, because obviously we get up to 67 kilometers an hour. If you were to run the powertrain as well, you get up to 69 kilometers an hour, giggity, which is definitely very, very nice for the Vickers Mk.3. If you feel like the gun is also good enough, you could drop the powertrain. You could drop that for the powertrain. Or if you are happy enough with just the traction system, you could run the vents as well to make everything about the tank better. Or run advanced armor in conjunction with armor angling to reduce the amount of damage coming into your tank by 10%. It's completely down to you and how you want to set up the tank. I just want to make it so that this gun is fabulous because that is the strength of the tank, and I'm going to be firing at a bit further distances. So I want to make sure this gun is great, and then have the ability to use the HESH rounds as well. But yeah, that's the equipment and commander setup. Let's have a look at the statistics of the tank while it's fully equipped. So as you can see, the track traverse has gone up to 54.5 degrees a second. The ground resistances have got a little bit better, which again, they just don't hold you back whatsoever. You've now got 564 meters of view range, which is definitely pretty decent. You got 48.65 degrees a second turret rotation, which is a lot quicker now than the 40 it already was, which means you are way quicker and a lot closer to the hull rotation speed, which naturally, if you didn't take clutch braking, you would be very nearly there. You now have a 5.32 second reload, which you can get even quicker with food boost, which gives you a 5.1k DPM, which is very, very good for this tank. 0.24 base accuracy as well is very, well, not base accuracy, but 0.24 accuracy with this build is very good. 1.15 accuracy during movement paired with 0.48 accuracy during rotation is fabulous, with 1.75 second aim time, meaning that that aim time is really good compared with the fact that the gun just doesn't really bloom out with these two skills, sorry. Means that, yeah, it's a very, very good gun with very, very good DPM, although it does still like to derp the floor every now and then, just like the Centurion 9. On paper, it's supposed to be superbly accurate, but it just decides, no, but that's RNG, right? But yeah, that's the Vickers MBT Mk.3. Like I say, it's just basically a premium version of the Centurion 9. I'm not the biggest fan of this tank, and I do think there is better out there, like the Leopard 1A1, which just has better mobility, better camo, generally a nicer gun with way better penetration, and only ever so slightly worse DPM at 4.9k DPM, sorry. Like, yeah, I don't know. I just think there's better out there than the Vickers MBT Mk.3. But as always, I'm going to send you all over to the replays where you can make your own mind up on the tank, see how it handles, and see if it's a bit of you or not. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching this section, and I'll see you in the replays. So here we are in the replays with the Vickers Mk.3 MBT, and this first game is on Nominee Nom. And these first 3 games are going to probably be the sort of more average to upper average games that you'll have in the Vickers Mk.3. And on Nominee Nom, where am I thinking of going? Well, on Nominee Nom, I kind of want to go to the position at E3 so that I can have overwatch over the people that cross along the A line, and if they don't really push too hard along the A line, I can go down to the position at about B4 and start shooting towards their cap area, because they do tend to have people that do camp the ridge lines along DE7 or about B7 as well, so you can get some pretty easy early shots out that way. If you go to this rock on my right hand side as well, you can also get early shots at the light tanks that do YOLO into this open field here. Plus you can see tanks that might camp over there, where you can just see that MX-30B2 forad that we get a nice shot into. We're going for the drive wheel shot into the forad, and unfortunately the gun just goes high, and we actually ricocheted, or we bounced off the upper plate of the forad there, which is very, very sad. It means that we didn't manage to track that guy in place. I was just hoping to keep him pinned there, make him burn his repair kit, or maybe he'd get spotted and somebody else would blap him and give me some juicy track assist. But nothing seems to be YOLOing into this field right now, so I decided, okay, you know what, if no one's YOLOing into this field right now, let's push up and help this medium tank and light tank over here at C4. So we're going to get around this side of the rocks so that we can use the ridgeline here to get some shots into these light tanks. We see the Sheridan. I do kind of want to get the Sheridan out if we can, because naturally he's got 80 GMs. It's not a good time. But then we've got the WZ-1323, which is very easy to pen with the Hesh rounds, which we switched to, which gives us some big juicy rolls. And he is out of the game because that M60A1 rise actually set him on fire. Then we noticed the forad behind us. We're trying to get the RBRT into him, but that shell went, well, I don't really know. It went somewhere. But we see the Sheridan there, and it's like, good night, Mr. Sheridan. We get the shot in to shut him down. Now we know there's another Sheridan in the distance. I can just about see his turret through that smoke. It's quite difficult, but I could just about see it. And we got the shot in. We try and get the shot through the drive wheel of the T-72A, which we actually did. We damaged his fuel tanks as well. And we're keeping him pinned there. His fuel tanks do get set on fire though, and this guy is, well, he's absolutely boned, and he gets shut down. 3.4k damage, and we're just keeping our eye on that ridgeline to see if that Sheridan decides to poke again. We do get spotted there. I'm thinking, was that the Sheridan spotting us as he poked over? And I just can't see him. It must have been, right? I just couldn't see him. But we're looking at shots into the M60A1 over there, which we do get a nice shot straight through the side of his tank, which shuts him down. Now the Sheridan's back on top of the ridgeline. I get a shot snapped into his lower plate, but I pull back behind the ridgeline as quickly as possible because I felt like maybe there was an 80 GM coming after me, and that wouldn't be a good time. And especially since this lid pops off this tank a lot, right? Yeah, if it goes through the hull, your Armour is going to pop. It's like the Chieftain Mark 11 in Era 3. That thing is a walking Armour. It's an Armour on tracks, right? And this thing is a little bit similar. If 80 GMs go anywhere towards the Armour, your head just goes, pop! Good night. And you're very sad. But we've managed to come back towards base because we did notice there was a medium tank and 2 light tanks threatening. We get the shot in to shut down the Marder A1. We get a shot on the move to shut down the Stingray. 2 kills just like that, putting us on to 4 kills. Now there's only 2 tanks left, which is the MX-30B2 over there, and a medium tank at F8, who we're going to get absolutely nowhere near. So we're going to try and use the mobility of the tank to get somewhere near this MX-30B2, and this is where I just feel that little bit slow, because I'm just so slow trying to get there. This is where having something like the traction system would have been very, very helpful, because naturally I would have been able to get up to a higher top speed, but we do finish the game with a kill in style, and we shut down that forad with a lovely little ram, and we finished the game with 5 kills, 5.2k damage. The second class, the Sniper Medal, 1381 base XP, pretty average game there for the Vickers Mk.3 on Nomini Nom. And now we're on to the second replay, and the second replay we are on Razanai, and on Razanai what I'm thinking of doing is going towards the castle, and because of the spawns, I'm more likely to be a little bit aggressive and push up to the little archway that's at FG4, because a lot of their team will spawn at B2, so if you can try and cut off their ascent into the castle, that is always a really, really good time. And this replay, you are going to see that the armour on this tank is a little bit fragile, because we're going to go to this position here, and we're going to end up trying to stop their attack into the town. You can see that just, yeah, nobody really cares for the armour. But we catch out the Vickers Mk.3, and the enemy team, we get a nice shot through his upper plate, which breaks his ammo rack. It happens all the time. Now we've got a 934 coming up. I'm just trying to get the tracking shot because there's quite a lot of our tanks up here. If I can track this guy in place, maybe he will just blow up. We go for that tracking shot again, but we actually miss it. Thankfully, he misses his 80 GM on us, and he gets shut down because he threw his whole tank away to try and just put that one shot into us. Now there's a bandit doing the exact same thing. We get the tracking shot into the bandit, which tracked and damaged his ammo rack. He loses a fair bit of hit points. We try and get the tracking shot again, but this time, sadly, it doesn't track it, only damages his ammo rack yet again. But yeah, we didn't keep him pinned there for our whole team to absolutely blap. But I think, okay, that bandit's not going to come back up, right? Because there's a lot of our team looking at him. But sadly, the bandit did actually come back up on top of the ridgeline to get a shot into our rear, and that ends up getting that bandit killed. We are now Gonna go and try and help our friends against this light tank, which we get a shot straight through the BMP2 there. And it's time to turn around and deal with the M3A1 that is in the middle of this castle attacking our heavy tank. If we can help this guy out, that would be great, because we don't want this M3A1 to then start turning around and trying to get us. Because, again, his autocannon will pen us absolutely everywhere, and naturally his ATGMs are also very, very deadly to us, which is not good. There's a rickety panzer over here, which, again, we're going to load the Hesh, put the Hesh round in for 515. That is a hefty low roll. We've got 570 average. 515 is low. But, you know, the Hesh round into the tank, you never know if you're going to detonate the Armour rack or damage the Armour rack at least. They've got 2 guys in the cap. The rickety panzer is being chased down by my whole team, because their team has absolutely crumbled. We're up to 4.3k damage. And what we're going to do now is just boost our view range with food and charge towards this cap area, see if we can get any juicy shots in. We find the M113, which we get a shot straight through, and I realistically probably should have gone for the shot that tracked it in the first place. We do manage to track it before it got back around the hill, and we can't quite see the shot into that M113, but I decided, okay, my whole team is going towards this cap. If I want any more damage, I've got to try and get in as quickly as possible. The Scorpion 90, we get a shot RBRT'd in, and the other Vickers Mk.3 just slams him with a ram. The M113 is the last tank alive. We're on 5.2k damage. It'd be nice to get another shot. We're trying RBRT the shot in, but we hit our teammate. Just waiting on the reload. Make sure we aim the shot up perfectly, which we do. Get straight into the M113, and he gets shut down by the rest of the team. And we finished the game with a decent total again for the Vickers. Finished with the 5.6k damage, with the Confederate medal, the 3rd class, and the 1246 base XP. Again, a fairly average game there for the Vickers, where, yeah, anything that looked at us, anything that sneezed our way, our Armour rack just went, not our Armour rack, sorry, our Armour just went, no, don't do it, and, you know, it went through us. You don't really need to see too much to know that the Armour is absolute garbo on this tank, sadly, for it. But like I said, the DPM is very, very nice for the tank. That is the asset of the tank. I suppose that's probably the unique selling point of it, is the fact that it's got one of the higher DPMs in Era 2 for its cannon. But, yeah, again, you could just go pick up something like the Chieftain Hybrid 120, which is a heavy tank, I know, but really class designations in Era 2 is a little bit hazy, and that tank is basically a medium tank. It's not a heavy tank, it's a medium tank. And, well, even then, they're all MBTs. They're not really even heavy tanks, right, or mediums, etc. But you get my point, right? The Chieftain Hybrid 120 is a far better tank than this thing, because it's sleeker, it's got the same amount of armour, realistically. It's got better gun, it's got better DPM, it's just everything about it is so much better, realistically, than this tank. That tank is really, really good for a non-ATGM tank. But anyway, we're on the 3rd replay. In the 3rd replay, we're here on Dragon's Ridge. We've come to this position here at D4, which is a little bit aggressive, but you can catch out people along that back line and get free shots in, which is what we've done against that Bagel Panzer. I had a sad time thinking this Ignis was going to just YOLO in and slam us with all his clip and ATGMers, but sadly, sadly, if I wanted to get out of this tank. No, thankfully, Freudian slip, I think. But thankfully, he didn't end up doing any more to us, but he did, with his very first shot, damage our Armour rack. You see, there it goes. And we already used our repair kit to repair our tracks, because he tracked us with the very first shot, and sadly, yeah, we've got to sit here with a damaged Armour rack for a bit, but thankfully, the repair kit's back very, very quickly, and we can just get this Armour rack back in use. Now I want to go pay this Ignis, again, a compliment of, I just want to kill you, bro. And that's the compliment, because it's like, well, sir, you put a shot into me, and realistically, I just want to be in a place to get rid of you now. So we get a shot through the Ignis Pagatio there. We're just trying to maneuver into position so this Chieftain Hybrid 120 can get out of the way. We're now not spotted. There's a lot of bushes between me and this Ignis, which will make it very, very difficult for him to actually be able to feather us out and shoot us. We tried to get another shot into the Ignis there, but I actually think we hit a rock that he was just behind. He gets unspotted, but we're just going to keep putting shots in. You can see us adjusting slightly higher and higher, because he was just going up the ridgeline, and we're just taking a chance to see if we could hit it. We do. He gets re-spotted, put the shot in towards the Ignis, and he gets put down to a one-shot. Now looking for shots towards the T-72A, who is just behind a rock that we can't quite shoot him from. And I'm just going to wait to see if I can shoot him, because he might pull out from behind that rock and give us a shot. But he's doing very well to actually cover himself from me. But then the Sheridan gets spotted on the ridge over in the distance at G7. And this is the reason it's not a very good idea to actually camp up there in Cold War, because the moment you get spotted, obviously in World War II, I'm too far away for render range to be able to shoot those guys over there. But in Cold War, I can quite easily shoot them. And thus we managed to get a few shots into them, get a kill or two, and their flank over there is dying. Now we're going to push in as fast as possible down to HJ2 so that we can get onto that ridgeline and try and spot the campers back here. And we found a VTS1 that was very, very unlucky because I didn't know he was there. I just went, okay, I want to charge as fast as possible down to this position over here on these ridgelines. And we actually found him, got a few shots into him RBRT and finished him off. We got a nice shot on the move there into the other light tank as well. The Bagel Panzer gets killed from our spot, which is always great. We don't want any of his bagels from his bagel delivery system. We get spotted again. It's the other VTS1, which was actually in platoon with the other one. He's now coming after us, which is going to be very, very awkward for him. We load the Hesh, slap a Hesh round straight through his back end, and he gets shut down by the Object 120, meaning there's only one tank left on the enemy team, and it is that Scorpion 90, who is somewhere down here along this ridgeline. And it's quite funny that we're rolling with a Chieftain Hybrid 120 here, because I do feel like that tank is... I think that tank's actually cheaper than this. I could be wrong. It's in the same ballpark, right, for price, but... it's just such a better tank. It's just such a better tank than this thing is. And I think that's a better bang for your buck if you wanted to pick up a 980 GM tank than this thing is. Because, like I said, the camo-wise, they're both very, very similar. Gun-wise, that one's better. It's got better DPM, all that good stuff. Mobility, it's better than this as well. Yeah, it's just a little bit sad times in terms of the Vickers versus the Chieftain Hybrid 120. But we finished the game with that 5.9k damage, though. The third class sniper medal, is it Eagle Eye for shooting more, or doing the most damage at tanks that are unspotted or something like that. 1310 base XP, a pretty decent game there for the Vickers Mk.3. And we're on to the fourth and final replay of this video. This is probably one of the better games I've had in this tank. And it was actually one of the first ones I played as well, which is typical. And we're on this map, which is go round like a donut, Duckler Pass. You might go round like a donut, Duckler Pass? What are you on about? Well, if you play Cold War Era 2 or Era 3, you know exactly what happens on Duckler Pass. We full send down the 9 line and up the J line. They full send up the 2 line and along the B line. And that is just what happens. It's really bad in Era 3. It's not quite as bad in Era 2 because of the fact that a lot of the tanks aren't quite as quick as the Era 3 tanks. Era 3 is awful. It's literally both teams get to each other's cap, and whoever's meets the most stragglers will get held up in time to not get capped, right? But in Era 2, it can turn out to be a little bit better than that. But we've done what we should do, which is basically go with the team, because otherwise we'll be left alone against a couple of tanks, probably some light tanks that are going to speed in with their ATGMs, and it wouldn't be very nice. And we're here now on these ridges. So this Bagel Panzer is being very aggressive, so I want to get rid of him, because yet again, I don't want any of his presence from his Bagel delivery system. We did manage to track him in place, and this guy doesn't actually have track mechanic, so we did actually manage to perma-track him. He's realised it, repaired it with his repair kit, because he's getting machine gunned, and he got sent back to the old garage. So we get a shot through the upper plate there of the VT2, which is a pretty nice tank, but that's a tank that's kind of left in the past at this point. Although it's got very, very good turret armor compared to this vehicle. We get a shot snapped into the T92 LT, which tracked him. Gave us a fair bit of tracking assist, so we'll take it. Sad it didn't pen, but hey-ho. There's a Leopard 1 caught out in the open. We tried to get a shot into track and pen him, but sadly we didn't pen him. Sorry, sadly we didn't track him. We only penned him. Try and go for a shot into his turret front there, but it just about misses. We're seeing the guys YOLO now into the open along the 8 line, and I'm thinking, maybe these guys are a free farm. That'd be quite nice. So we've got trying to get the shot into the M60A3. I was kind of thinking of possibly going for the tracking shot yet again, because if we could track this guy in the open and my teammates get some beautiful shots into him, yet again, that's some more assistance, which would always be great. And we're just trying to keep the shots flying towards this M60A3. Sadly, that one missed. That one, like, it might go straight in, but it flew just above him, which is sad. I'm like, come on, gun. Like, you're better than that. We're looking into the distance towards their camper ridges to see if anyone's camping, and then I just see the outline of a tank. It's like, hello, Mr. Bright Orange Leopard 1A3. I can see you, friend. But because I get spotted and detected, I'm like, no, I need to get out of dodge. Unfortunately, we'd lose quite a bit of hit points doing that. We ended up losing a good, solid 700 hit points for dropping off that little ledge. I forget sometimes that you can't quite do that sort of stuff in Cold War. It's like, oh, I just get over this ridge and be fine. In World War II, I probably would have lost, like, 30 hit points, 50 hit points. In Cold War, we lost 700, which is kind of sad. We did take a big hit from over in the distance. You can see the shell tracer just missing us there, and it is a Tyran 6. So we get a shot into the Tyran 6 there. Tracking him in place, go for that shot again, and the gun just doesn't hit him. It's like, come on, gun, please. Okay, we've got more shots towards him. That one hits the top of his turret and ricochets. We are still pummeling shots towards it, but sadly that one hits the floor as well. It's just what the RNG is like on this gun sometimes. It just loves a good miss. We're trying to get the tracking shot in on this Bagel Panzer, which we get, and the VT2 is just ramming him into a place. It's a little bit awkward for me to be able to get the shot to help this guy out because he's rammed him into a place I can't quite see him, but we do manage to shut down that Bagel Panzer, so he can't take any more hit points off my VT2 friend. We're up to 4.6k damage, 2.7k assistance. We try and get a shot towards the Tyran 6, and again, I have no idea where that one went. This is, you're seeing in this replay what this gun can be like. A bit frustrating, right? Really accurate on paper, just like the Centurion 9, but sometimes the shots just go, nah, I'm just going to hit the floor, my friend. And that's what it does. And you just sit there going, why? You know. But we managed to get a shot there into the Leopard, putting him down to a one-shot. The M60 is a bit of a pain because he got a shot into me, so I'm being very, very wary of it. We tried to snap the shot into the WZ-1321, but we can't quite get the shot into him. And oh no, Mr. Bandit, that's a little bit awkward. We load the Hesh round for his lower plate. It flies true, 597. Again, that's where the Hesh rounds can be a thing of beauty. We get the shot towards the Bandit, but of course he flips at that exact moment, so the shell flies straight underneath his tank as he's re-landing. Sad times. But there's only 2 tanks left on the enemy team. We know it's a Leopard that was up there in the distance. We're just trying to see if we can see that Leopard, because we're thinking, oh, maybe he's still in that same spot, but we just can't see it. And we know exactly where the Bandit was, right? Because he got shot by me, and then he reflipped, and he ended up running away underneath the ridge line. So we're just trying to put ourselves into a better position where maybe we can shoot the Leopard 1A3 if he decides to attack our medium tank. But we're just watching with true vision to see if we can see him poke out. We can't actually see him, so I'm thinking, right, okay, we're going to keep moving, because maybe he's run away. Maybe he's run towards the corner. Maybe he's gone towards their base. But actually, we've really got to try and stick as close as possible to the WZ-1224 or the light tank, because, well, there's only 3 of us left and there's 2 of them. We don't want to get isolated. We don't want them to get isolated, because that would be a quick way of losing this game. There's the 1A3. He gets spotted. He's actually still in the exact same spot. He's just hugging the rock that he was using to take cover from me behind as tightly as possible so that we couldn't actually see him, and he wasn't really looking out for any shots at anyone. So we're going to come up a different way to try and help these guys out if we can, so that we don't end up getting shut down. This game ends up losing. We get the shut down into the Leopard 1A3 to get rid of him. We've now got the Bandit coming round. We get the shot into tracking, which is what I wanted, but I wanted to pen it as well, so we ended up hitting the outside drive wheel. Load Hesh for his rear, 613. Puts him down to a one-shot if we need it, but the WZ-1224 shuts him down. And we finished the game with a really nice total there for the Vickers MBT Mk.3. Finished with 7.8, nearly 7.9k damage, 2.6k assistance. The first class, the high caliber, the Confederate medal, 1611 base XP. A pretty damn nice game there for the Vickers MBT Mk.3. And yes, that is the Vickers MBT Mk.3. Like I say, it's a very bog standard lackluster premium medium tank, if we're honest, in Era 2. There's not really anything too special about it. It's very, very similar to the Centurion 9. It's not really got much armor, but it's got a fabulous gun and pretty damn good DPM. But yeah, that's the Vickers. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
A great success!